Hello, romance readers. Welcome to Illicit Liaisons with Tender and Tempting Tales, where each week we talk about the good, the bad, and the naughty of romance fiction. I am Jenna Hart. I am a romance author of the Southern Heat Contemporary Romance series and of the Sexy Valentine mysteries, as well as the managing editor of Tender and Tempting Tales, a steamy romance anthology.
Hi, and I'm Tara Liederman, social media manager here at Tender and Tempting Tales and lore maven for Starship Valkyrie, a science fiction game and story universe. I write science fiction stories, including romance, and you can often find me in our anthologies alongside these ladies.
And today, our guest host is Stephanie R. Caffrey. Stephanie is a romantic suspense author who lives with her family in the Midwest. And when she's not working on her original writing, she loves writing fan fiction. Me too. In addition to writing, she enjoys sewing, knitting, and cross stitching. Now, Stephanie appears in our very first summer anthology, Moonlight and Margarita. She had a contemporary friends to lovers romance in called Margarita Mondays, but which takes place in a bookstore. It was really cute. You need to go get the book and read it. She also has a series of romantic suspense novels with Rowan Prose Publishing, the latest of which, Strings of Deception, will be available on February 10th. You can learn more about Stephanie and her books over at srcaffrey.com. And this link and all the stuff we talk about in the show that has a link, we will have in the show notes, so you can just click and go. And Stephanie, thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to talk to you. And of course, as we talked a little bit earlier, Stephanie and I had the same agent for a while. She was really a wonderful person. There's nobody that has worked with her that doesn't tell a similar story about how incredible she was. This is Dawn Dowdle with Blue Ridge Literary Agency. And she passed quite unexpectedly a couple years ago. And this was not at all planned, but today happens to be her birthday. And so it just felt like she may have put us together so we
Yeah.
could chat today. I can't even really tell you what a wonderful person she was. I wanted to give a little tribute. I mean, Dawn single-handedly made me a better writer. I mean, all the notes that she would give, I internalized them, and even writing today, I think about them sometimes with frustration, but mostly with knowing that they're going to make the manuscript all the much better. She also had so many insights into the publishing industry that she would always share with us. She was very open about what was going on. And she was just a wonderful friend, which was so different. Having had other agents, they were very nice. But Dawn, you were welcomed into her family. If she
Yes.
represented you, you were now her friend, her family. And I'm just curious, Stephanie, what you remember about her and maybe what the impact she had on you and your writing.
I remember that she was like my biggest cheerleader. When I met her in 2020, middle of COVID, and she was just so nice on that first phone call, told me how much she loved my book, and then she just built me up from there. Like she was the biggest cheerleader I had. When I had a publishing deal fall through, she immediately called me and she says, "Let's not shelf this book. I believe in this book and we're just gonna keep going." And that's what I just have her in the back of my head going, I'm a good writer because Dawn thought I was a good writer.
Yeah. Yeah. And she sort of came to it on her own. She didn't come up in a bookish industry. She just loved reading and was like, I want to be an agent, and just built it on her own, just out of gumption. And again, she just really helped, especially emerging authors, and really took us under a ring. I don't think you could talk to any of our authors that didn't message with her in the middle of the night, right? Like on
Yeah.
Facebook or whatever you'd be here. Anyway, she was just wonderful. We miss you, Dawn. Happy birthday. Um, and golly, I'm not going to get sad, but I do miss her. I do miss her quite a
I
bit.
miss her too.
Now, normally, Tara and I like to talk about bookish news and drama and all that stuff. We love the tea. I have coffee, but we love the tea.
Yeah, I've got my
Um,
coffee.
yeah. Uh, yeah, it might be a little perverse, but we do. We love bookish tea. And recently over Jessica at Peace Love Books, who we've mentioned her on the show before, started talking about the book she was going to read that scared her a little bit. Not scary like in horror, but that she was really nervous about picking up, partly because she was afraid they wouldn't meet her
Mm.
expectations. One
Mm.
of them was a book that was deep in a series, and the couple that was going to be featured, the woman was somebody she didn't like from previous books. So a little bit scared about how this was going to come about because she didn't really like that character type of thing. And, you write romantic suspense, and those are a little bit scary too. So I just was sort of wondering, have you had books that you were nervous to pick up or read? Or maybe even, sometimes you might be trying to write something and you're nervous, okay, will people be scared to read this even?
I have several books on my shelf that have been sitting there because I'm nervous to read. She mentioned in her video Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid that mm, she said it devastated her, and that's why it's sitting on my shelf because she's not the first person to say that. And I'm like, am I in the mood to be devastated? And Taylor Jenkins Reid is one of my favorite authors, but I'm
Oh,
like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to read you yet.
yeah, yeah. That's just it. And sometimes you just don't know. Like if you have read other recommendations by that person, you might say, okay, I agree. We have the
Yeah.
same taste. But sometimes you don't know when you pick it up and read it. And she had some interesting, but one of the books she had was Song of Achilles
Oh,
on
yes.
there, which I really liked that book.
Same. I
I
really
was
like
like,
that
read the
book.
book, read the book. I mean, it ends in a way, but it still ends okay,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it ends, if you know the story of Achilles, you know
Yeah,
how it's going to end. So I think that helps cushion the devastation a little bit.
yeah, yeah. Sort of like watching Titanic and
Right.
thinking
You
that
know
the
how it's
ship
gonna end.
won't
Yeah.
sink, right? Like the ship is going to sink. It always does. So, well, I have noticed that in the last, well, I don't know how many years. I'm going to equate it around COVID. And that is probably when I started paying attention to like Book Talk and BookTube because there was nothing else to do, right? Except read and watch BookTube. But books have, particularly in romance, have gotten darker.
Mm.
Speaking of scary, and I'm just curious. Some of them have really sort of pushed the envelope, and I'm wondering if you have some sort of like, this is deliciously dark versus like, oh no, this has gone too far, either as a reader or a writer.
Yeah, I do have some lines. I don't read a lot of dark stuff, and so therefore I don't write a lot of dark stuff. But, some people might consider, I mean, my current series, Profiling the Heart, follows FBI agents who hunt serial killers.
Right.
And in both Decoding the Heart, the first book, and the Strings of Deception that's coming out, I have serial killers actively killing people as the story is going on. But I never show the killing on page.
Yeah.
They always find the body.
Yeah.
And that's because I don't want to read about a gruesome murder.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of like, I write what I would want to read. And so I kind of toe the line there. I build the suspense up, but you don't see
Yeah.
the actual
Yeah.
Ween.
stabbing or whatever.
Yeah. 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 Now, Tara, I realized we didn't get your response to the scary book. So,
Well,
do
I'm
you have
a
books
weird
that
one.
you've been nervous about picking up to read?
I do actually. It's funny because like on the one hand, I have a PhD in English, and right, I had this like long, horrible list of things that I was really afraid to read, and I really hated them, right? So I'm used to reading things that are scary in a way, like big and nasty and cruel, like Clarissa behind me, by Samuel Richardson, which she spends 800 pages dying, this poor woman. By the same token, when I'm reading for leisure, I actually discover that there's some kind of books that I really will not read. I don't like horror. I just won't pick it up. There's a perspective to horror where it often ends badly. And I
Yeah.
guess there's something about knowing that it's going to end badly that I can't quite stomach. I write science fiction, but Parrish calls it, he calls it, you write pure, bright military science fiction where things end up well, even though horrible things happen to the characters, there's a sense of nobility and honor to things, and things will turn out well. I don't like to read things that are in first person present tense because I feel like it's happening to me. It's happening to me right now, and I find that really anxiety provoking. So I guess there is a ton of stuff I'm afraid to read. I'm even afraid to read the next Resin Files book because I was burnt by the last one. I don't want to keep going.
Yeah.
I'm in mourning. I haven't left state mourning since the last book. I'm not going to ruin it for anybody, but a
Yeah.
character
Yeah.
passes and it's very hard. And I'm not the only one. So yeah, I think I'm afraid of a lot of books. Think I have
Yeah.
a bit of a phobia.
Yeah. In terms of being afraid of books, the only thing that I didn't pick up and I don't know if I was afraid, I just didn't want to do it, was reading beyond the first A Court of Thorn and Roses, because it seemed like it was set up where the two of them were supposed to be together. And while I admit the chemistry wasn't as great as I would have liked to have between them, it's sort of like, okay, this is it, right? Because that's how
Mhm.
I am. And so when I find out later she ends up with somebody else, I was like, wait a minute, I'm invested in this guy. So I didn't pick him up, but my daughter insists I have to read the next book and the opening of the third book. And she's like, at that point, you can stop if you want. You know? So yeah, not really afraid, but just sort of like, wait a minute, and I'd be curious with the author. You always wonder what authors are doing.
Yeah.
Like, did she like, this is just one book, and then all of a sudden it had to be a series, and she
Yeah.
decided, oh, this other guy, I like him better.
Yeah. A Court of Thorn and Roses, I thought it was a YA, a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it's supposed to be YA, and so it's not supposed to be spicy, and so I think that's
Yeah,
why there's not a lot of fireworks going off. That might be why
yeah.
it reads that way. And then I don't know. I think she discovered it was better as a more of an adult book, and as it
And then
goes on, it gets
yeah, it got
spicier.
moved. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
So that makes
yeah,
it kind of the first one kind of weird, right?
yeah. Well, I don't know. I haven't read the other ones.
Okay, fair
So I
enough.
have nothing to compare it to. But I'll let you know if I do. They are on my shelf. What about you, Tara? Do you have any sort of deliciously dark versus too far? Or
Uh,
is it just the same
things
as
that
the
I
two?
think are too far. I don't like people killing characters to advance another person's story. That drives me crazy. And I'm not even talking about fridging. I'm talking about like, well, it's more realistic if this person dies. Like I didn't come here for realism. I'm reading a book.
Yeah, we're here to escape realism. Thank you very
Yeah,
Yes, I
much.
yeah.
don't need your verisimilitude. Thank you very much. Like, I'm not here for that. So I hate that answer. I've gotten that answer from freaking PhDs in English. I have gotten that answer. And I'm just like, why? What, you really want verisimilitude that much? It's so important to you. And
Yeah.
it's like it'll be sci-fi or fantasy. It's like, okay, so with dragons, but we need verisimilitude about when people are gonna die, right? It's ridiculous to me. What else is too far? I don't like a lot of, let us call it ravishment, just to advance the female character story that happened in a lot in Game of Thrones. While I think it's good to talk about SA in a character's life, if you're going to take it seriously, it does need to be a big part of their story. Like I do that in my own books. I have a character who has that in her history, and I do talk about that. I'm not saying it's off the shelf completely. Like I do think that people should talk about it. I just think that like just doing it to do it, like an Outlander, I feel like Jenna, didn't you say that everyone gets assaulted in
Yeah,
Outlander at some point?
yeah.
Yeah. It's like
Well,
everyone,
all
at a
the
certain
main
point.
characters do, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it gets a little almost tiresome, and I love Outlander, but there's a point where it's I don't know, it gets overwhelming thinking about the amount of trauma that people are
Mm.
processing,
Yeah.
and unless you're going to take it seriously and spend a lot of time working through that trauma, it's not a good way of moving the plot forward. So
Yeah.
those are
Yeah.
my bridge too.
I'm sort of like Stephanie when it comes to, I mean, I read like I like JD Robb, I
Mm.
like Tammy Hogue, and they can get pretty gritty, and I can do that when they're chasing bad guys. I'd like to think I'm not a prude,
Mm.
but I am not a huge fan of like daddy's best friend trope.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, it just feels like I'm okay with age gap,
Hmm.
but there's something about daddy's best friend, and I think it purposefully is that
Yeah.
why that is.
Hmm.
And if you're a reader that loves it, okay, I no judgment here. You do you, I do me. But for me, it just I don't know. There's something about it. When I was ghostwriting, I had to write it.
Mm.
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 It got kind of challenging sometimes because I don't maybe that's not too I don't know if that's too far, but it is some,
Mm.
it's hitting the like I don't like that icky stuff.
Yeah.
Or incest. It feels almost like an uncle. to me.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Daddy's best friend is kind of an uncle character. So I don't know. These are the kind of tropes that I call porny.
Yeah. Well, and then in my mind, I have to wonder, like, how does the friendship last? Like you have been with your best friend's daughter. How does a father get past that? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's just I don't know. But I know, there's a lot of stuff out there. I haven't read this yet, but I know books like Haunting Adeline and stuff like that, these guys are they're not gray, they're morally black. They are dark. He's a stalker. He's threatening her, killing people I haven't read that yet. And I'm like, there's a part of me that's sort of curious, but a part of me that would be the other thing I might be afraid of.
Absolutely.
Like maybe that's not something I could do. I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. Tons of other books on my bookshelf to read, so that one's going down.
So, speaking of scary stuff, actually, like, so you write romantic suspense. Like, how did you decide to write in that subgenre? Like, what draws you to it, Stephanie?
Well, when I read, I like to read suspense books. Like those are great. And then I like to read romance. And so when I came to start wanting to write my own books and kind of come out of the fan fiction era, and I was like, you know what? I think I really want to write a mystery and a suspense, but I really also want to focus on this couple and
Mhm.
how they fall in love, despite this like huge thing that's their obstacle is holding them apart. They a serial killer, or in my first book, Mistaken Identity, the mob, like they have this big thing and they're trying to fall in love, but also solve this mystery. And it just is exciting for me. I like to have something to do. Like I tried to write just a plain contemporary romance, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of boring without like someone trying to kill them.
Yes, yes, I totally appreciate that. Like,
Yeah.
I was
When I
just talking to
started
Jenna
reading
about this.
romance, I read romantic suspense for the same reason,
Mhm.
because it's like I want something else going on
Yeah.
because this other stuff it's okay, but yeah, romantic suspense, there's danger and all sorts of things, other things going on. Yeah. Yeah. Do you read romantic suspense? Because you
It's
said,
that's the funny thing. I don't read romantic suspense.
okay.
And so I don't have a favorite author. I don't even know where to start because I started to try to go like, oh, I should start reading. And I'm like, there's like so much.
Jenna
And
has
like,
a great
oh,
article on our Substack about it with some really good
all
recommendations.
right,
Like legit, like
Yeah.
I'll have to go look at that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're kind of old school. They're
Mhm.
90s,
Oh,
Sandra
that's fine.
Brown, Laura Roberts. Yeah. But yeah, I cut my teeth on those books and really enjoy them. Sandra Brown was really good. Her older books are really good with the twist
Mhm.
or making you question the people you're supposed to like. Like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, maybe they are bad. Like,
Like good courtroom drama and police procedural kind of stuff going
Yeah.
on. So if that's your deal, like there's some really good recs in there.
Yeah,
yeah,
I'll have to go look at that because
yeah,
there's just so much. And I'm like, oh, I don't even know where to start.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Those are the ones I had started with. You have an FBI series
I do.
and you have one in London,
I
which
do.
seems sort of different. I'm just curious, like, how did that come about?
Well, so I got the idea for my London series when we were going on our honeymoon. We got married in 2008 and we went on honeymoon to Greece and Turkey. And we had a layover at Heathrow Airport. And as I stepped off the plane in Heathrow, there's no signage. You don't know where you're going. It's so confusing. It's a giant maze. And I just sat there thinking, I'm like, huh, what would happen? Like something could happen in this airport. And so that's where the seeds of mistaken identity came, because it opens up with my main character, Evelyn. She's studying abroad in Greece and she has a layover in Heathrow and she is on a tight layover. She's worried she's not going to make her plane. And as she's trying to make her plane in this place where there's no signage on which terminal is where, she collides with someone who looks vaguely like her and they swap bags. And that's where the story kicks off. Because
Ooh.
the person she bumped into is carrying a bag with all this evidence against the local crime family. And now poor Evelyn
Oh
is
dear.
now in possession
Yeah.
of all that evidence.
Ooh.
And
Isn't it
so,
funny how real life, I love stories like this because first of all, how real life comes into your stories, right?
yeah.
But also how you think like a right, you end up in a place and everybody else is like, oh, this is weird, or this is and your first thought is there's a dead body here, I bet. Right? Like you immediately
Crime
go to
could
how
happen here.
only writers of suspense and mystery immediately go to, oh, I bet you something bad could happen here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's authors and serial killers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is
Yeah,
why we end up on lists.
That's
yeah,
exactly. That's
yeah.
so then for my FBI one, when I was at home with my 6-year-old when she was a baby, I binged all of Criminal Minds, like
Mm.
all
Oh,
of it. And I loved that show. And
yeah.
I started thinking, this show is great, but there's not a lot of romance in it. So that's where the seeds started planting for this FBI series. I'm like, what if it's Criminal Minds? But there's also this romance. Like
Yeah,
these behavioral analysts find time to find love while
yeah,
also trying to like puzzle together this mystery. And so I
yeah.
started plotting it out around then.
Yeah, and they travel a lot too. To what I mean, on the show they travel a lot,
Yeah. And
so
so then
they have a lot of opportunities
yeah,
to go to
I,
different places and do
yeah, so the
different.
first book takes place in a fictional town after doing London, and I had a Brit picker who I sent my books to, and she would read them and be like, nope, 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 nope. And she had me move my entire like neighborhood that my book was set in because it wasn't seedy enough. And so I'm like, fictional towns from here on out is where
Yeah,
it's at. And so
yeah.
my first FBI book, Decoding the Heart, takes place in a fictional Iowa town. And the second book, Strings of Deception, takes place in New Mexico, a fictional town in New Mexico. The third book takes place in a fictional coastal town of California. And then I go back to real places because the fourth book will take place in Washington, D.C. to wrap up this ongoing serial killer line that I have moving through all the books.
Oh, so it's one overarching throughout
Yeah,
the book.
so each
Oh,
book has their own serial killer that they're finding. But then there's this guy in the background who's taunting my lead FBI guy
okay.
throughout each book. And so the fourth one will culminate with him confronting this guy who's been taunting him through the
Mm.
other books.
Okay. Oh,
Mm.
that makes me sort of think of I want to say Catherine Coulter is the author name. I know there's another Coulter who's a pundit, but Catherine Coulter, and she has an FBI series that sort of makes me, you know, he does marry. They're not really very romantic necessarily, but he does marry. Her name is Sherlock, Lucy Sherlock, and he marries her, and makes me think of that a little bit. I love that stuff. I love it. And I've often thought about it would be fun to do FBI or something, but then I just worry about getting it wrong. Do you know an FBI agent? Do you have somebody who
I don't,
You
but
have a source.
I went and did a bunch of research before I
Okay.
started writing, and I checked out a bunch of profiler books, and then I
Yeah.
bought a textbook on profiling. And
Yeah.
so I sit there and I go, okay, what do I need to do? And it's got like a whole chapter on like reading crime scenes. And so then I'll read about how they read crime scenes, and then I'll kind of like apply that a
Yeah.
little bit to what my characters are doing. In Strings of Deception, it focuses a lot on my character who does like the hacking and the technology. And I kind of yada yadaed a lot of that because I'm like, it's fiction. And
Yeah.
I'm sure this technology, I thought I was yada yadaing a lot. And then I started reading things. I'm like, oh, oh, they can do that. Oh, that's kind of scary that they can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you gave
Yeah.
yourself like a mini Quantico education.
I did, and it was a lot of
Yeah.
fun. I live really close to Iowa State University, and I'm an alumnus from there. So they give you like a little alumnus like library card. And so I would go over to the college campus and just check out like textbooks and stuff and read through it, make notes. Especially when I was like crafting my serial killers, I really wanted to make sure that they were believable. And so I found this book called Dangerous Personalities. And
Mhm.
so I really like have been using that to build my serial killers because they're also like my plants. Like these are characters you're going to know through the whole book, but you can't know that they're the ones killing everybody.
Oh, that's cool.
Ooh.
I like getting
Yeah.
inside the mind of serial killers. In so many
Yeah.
cases, they're always like a character without an interiority, you know? So it is really interesting when you kind of can see their interiority, but it's hard to write, you know?
Right.
And it's sort of interesting when you think about how profiling is fairly new, right? Like if you
Yes.
watched, there was the book and then they made the show about it was in the 70s.
Yeah,
They were
with
sort
John
of like,
Douglas.
why don't we
He,
understand? Why don't we figure out what these guys? And people are like, that's a bunch of woo woo, soft science, da 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 da. And then today we know, I just saw Candace DeLong, who's always on those true crime shows when they're talking about, and she'll give the profiler insight because she was a profiler.
yeah.
Just saw on TV the other day profiling
Mm,
a case,
mm,
and normally this is the thing, you know.
yeah.
Of course, there could always be something different, but they have quite a bit of statistics. And what is really interesting is that these serial killers, most of them were happy to talk, right?
Right. They want to
Yeah.
brag. They
Yeah.
want to tell you, I did this. I tricked you and
Yeah,
I got away with it
yeah. Until I didn't, right?
until I didn't
Yeah,
because I couldn't
yeah,
keep my mouth shut.
yeah,
And some
yeah,
of them are curious about why they are the way they are as well. Like they
Yeah.
don't seem to quite understand either, you know. Not that
yeah,
they're sorry or anything, but they're
Mm,
also kind of like, no, I don't know why I'm like this. You figure that out.
yeah,
Let me know if you
yeah,
figure this out, please.
yeah. They have like a compulsion, right? Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, crazy. Well, you have Strings of Deception coming out February 10th. Is
Yes.
that is that which book in the series is that? Is
It's
it
the
the
second
last?
book in the
Second.
series.
Okay. Okay. And so we got, is this now, is it the same couple through each book, or is it two,
It's
is it
it's
different
not.
FBI agents?
Each FBI agent gets to find love in each book.
Ooh,
And
okay.
so Strings of Deception will follow my female FBI agent. Her name is Millie. And she ended decoding the heart on kind of like a little traumatic moment. And so she's hoping that going on this new case in New Mexico, that she can hopefully get over that traumatic moment. And then she saw her colleague Matthew fall in love on the last case. And she's like, I've been very unlucky in love through my life. Maybe I'll get lucky in New Mexico just like Matthew did in Iowa. And so she goes out on this case and she meets Sebastian, who's this bad boy, construction worker, long hair, guy liner, kind of like Winter Soldier-esque vibes. And they kind of hit it off.
I've never heard that term before, and I love it so much. The
I
eyeliner.
love the
How have I
name
never heard that?
Sebastian. I love the name Sebastian. It's one of the names on my list that I'm saving to use. Like I got to find the perfect book. But the name Millie also strikes me.
Yeah.
How do you pick names? I don't know. We were talking about names earlier on another call. And when I think of Millie, a lot of times it feels like an older person name to
Mm,
me. Is it short for like Millicent or
Yeah,
Mildred.
I
Mildred?
didn't, I've never given her a full name. She's just
Okay.
Millie.
Mm.
And yeah, she's got like the whole classic like porcelain skin, dark black hair, could have gone through a goth phase in high school
Mm.
sort of vibes, but
Okay.
she's not a damsel in distress and
Yeah.
she kicks butt and doesn't
Yeah.
take she's just holds her own against all these men in this male dominated field.
Yeah.
And I love her so much and I can't wait for people to read her in this book.
Yeah. Well, I love the name. I love the name. I have to add it to my list. I don't know. You know how sometimes names just resonate with you and you're just like,
Yeah, and I heard Millie somewhere, and I'm like,
yeah.
that is someone's name. And I wrote it down. And then when I started having to come up with names for all these FBI agents, I'm like, well, I think she's a Millie.
Yeah.
Always makes me
Yeah.
think of Dead Like Me, the alternative name of George, which I love that show. All right, so we had to get on to our book recommendations here. All right, so normally on the show, we ask everybody their book recommendation or what you're reading right now, and then we go through and ask everybody. We'll start with you, Stephanie.
Right now, I just started reading A Song to Drown Rivers by Anne Liang, and it's a retelling of a Chinese fairy tale. And I've just started it, so I'm not that far in, but I'm really excited to see because I read a lot of fairy tale retellings, but I've never read a Chinese fairy tale retelling. So
Love that.
I'm really interested. some talk about women who kick butt and don't take names. That's basically the plot of this book.
Dawn, back to Dawn, told me, I'm not selling very many romances now. You should write a cozy mystery. I'm okay, because what do I know, right? Sophie loves fairy tales. And so I was reading a lot of fairy tales, but then, and I tried to use them some in the stories, but I tried to expand. And I actually had I think it's a Japanese fairy tale I had her talk about in the book. Because a lot of times we don't think of, we think of fairy tales, we think of Grimm, and that's about
Right.
it, right? And
I've read so many Grimm retellings. It's,
yeah,
very rote. And so when this was a choice on the Book of the Month Club several months ago, I'm very behind on my Book of the Month Club
I
books.
skipped my month this time. I was just like, I
Oh,
can't.
I got 3 books, even though I shouldn't have. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try something different, go out of my comfort zone. And so I'm really excited to see where this goes.
Nice. All right, what about you, Jenna? What are you reading?
Well, I'm still working on the book. The title is something like The Night I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon.
Oh, yes, you
Oh,
showed me that. I love that name.
And it's something of that. And very much enjoying it, but life got really busy, so I haven't picked it up since like last week. What is really funny about it's funny. It's a rom-com for one, and
I
it's
read it a few months ago. It's
Oh, did you?
hilarious.
yeah, it's a fantasy, but there's a lot of sort of tongue-in-cheek wink wink, right?
Yeah,
Because
it's
her
great.
name is Cinnamon, and her family has a cinnamon farm, and her brothers are cumin and chili, and she's, yeah. So, I've gotten to the point where they have gone into the first cave. So
Okay.
I'm still only a few chapters in. And she's like, good, done, ready to go. And and then accidentally mentions there's like 4 caves. And he's like, nope, not done. Off we go. And it's sort of set, like different, the bad being is like in different places, sort of like they did in Harry Potter when they had the
Horcruxes.
Horcruxes type of thing. Is that right? Am I understanding that right?
Yes,
yeah.
Okay. So they have to go to all the different cases.
They have to go traveling together.
I'm just having a really good giggle through it. So, which is nice, because before that I read Catherine Cowles, Chasing Shelter or something like that, which was cute, really liked it, but it was a suspense. So reading something like this, it's more of a funny adventure is always,
I love the name. I love how like isekai the names are getting of some of these things.
Yeah.
I got drunk and saved a demon.
Yeah. And I think, and there's a series, and I think all the
It's a
titles are
series because like
something
the
like
next
that.
one is like how I did something and accidentally married a werewolf or something like that. And
Yeah.
I'm like sold. I read that
Yeah.
first one for a book club and I was sold on the rest of the series. I'm like, good. I'm done. I'm there. I'm sat.
Yeah. Yeah.
As an exercise, we should give all of our books isekai names just for fun. Like what would it be if it had like a meta isekai name? Should make Marissa do that, some of hers, like how I solved my friends how I solved my friend's commitment issues, but not his lycanthropy. She's gonna kill me for this.
Okay.
Well, I am reading Jenna's books right now. Actually, I've been reading her Valentine series. I'm reading her second book.
Old Flames
Old
Never
Flames
Die.
Never Die. Yes. I like started it last night after I finished Deadly Valentine and like had to send it. No, it was the night before. I'm like in a daze. When you're like reading a series and you have no idea where one ends and another begins, You're like on Kindle Unlimited and you just go on to the next one. And you're like, I think this was in this book, but
yeah. I was like that with Outlander. Tara always has to tell me when I'm like, well, when this happened, and she knows exactly the book. I don't even remember the book. I remember Outlander, and then that's like it. None of the other titles come back to me. I forget the titles of my own books sometimes.
No. Well, I have them as discrete novels, which is when they're discrete paper novels, I remember like physically where I was in a thing. But if it's Kindle, I'm just lost in data,
Yeah, it's sort of like binge watching TV, right? What season was that? Right?
Oh, yeah.
You're like, I don't know if it was that.
I don't know. I just watched 12 episodes in 8 hours. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Well,
I read 4 books in a week. Who knows?
You said you were watching Criminal Minds, I could only like watch one of those at a time. Like that, like I can binge watch TV. I can watch hours of TV, but that one, no. Like it was one and done because I was like, man, I mean, the things they were investigating were just mentally like, oh my golly, you know, I don't know if that's how it really is. Well, I guess it is, right? Because
Yeah.
we saw, um, uh, yeah, those guys are mentally, and ladies, all of them have they got a mental fortitude that's, you know, crazy to look at what they look like. I have a friend who was a true crime writer.
Mm.
Diane Fanning is her name. Now she writes fiction, but she ended up having to stop just for that reason. She just
Mm.
could not go through another folder of, forensic evidence, the
Yeah.
autopsies and all that kind of stuff. And, so I was like, man, I don't know how you do that. It's one
There are
thing to
some
make it
people for
up.
whom I think it's like weirdly fine, like really fascinating. Like I
Yeah.
actually don't find myself being super like freaked out by that stuff. Like when I read about like true crime type stuff, it's like when it's emotional stuff, like thinking about like a mom losing her daughter, I get
Yeah.
really sad. But
Yeah.
actual like the body stuff, I seem to be okay.
Yeah. That's interesting. Diane had telling her story here on she was almost kidnapped as a child.
Ooh.
And so I think that stuck with her. Like, who would do that? And why would they, and that sort of led her into crime writing after she was a chemist for a while. But then even that got to a point where I think
Yeah.
she was just like, I just can't, because she would go talk to them. She'd
Mm.
go see them in prison and talk to them. She'd talk to their families. She'd talk to and I could see where after a while it would be let's talk to somebody who didn't kill somebody for
Yeah.
one, like
Well, what else is going on in the world of Stephanie Caffrey? What did we not get to that you definitely
yeah.
want people to hear about?
Oh, I'm currently writing the third book of the series, which follows, it's in the description. It follows Millie again. Stuff happens in New Mexico, and she has to go back home to her parents, and her best friend comes out and spends Christmas with her. It's a Christmas themed
Oh,
book,
okay.
and they try to pick up all their pieces. And her best friend is also, he's the guy who does all the computer stuff on the team. And so they grow closer. And so it's been really nice it's a slower paced one. There is going to be a serial killer out there, but they're not there for a case. They're there to heal, but
Mhm.
they just can't escape work.
Right.
Of course, it finds them.
Friends. I like the friends to lovers trope.
Me too.
I like a lot of tropes, but
Same.
there's at least two I don't.
Poor Jenna.
And I will avoid it if I can. Stephanie, thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
I really enjoyed it. I hope that you will rethink or think again about writing with us at some point. We
I
Yeah,
was hoping to make the last one, but I just could not with the holidays make
yeah, I'm so
a
sorry.
January
I tried to
work. But
lure you to
I
pause and
know,
care.
and I had a document open and I had like a paragraph written,
Uh,
and I just could not get
yeah.
time. I just did not I have a 12-year-old and a 6-year-old, and my
Absolutely.
12-year-old is in community theater, and so
Ah,
driving him around, and then I work full
yeah.
time, and so but
Yeah.
I have the thing open. I'm like, maybe I can do the next one. And so
Yeah. We've got
I
a
really
couple
want
open and yeah, and everybody needs to go get Moonlight Margaritas so they can read her
to.
story, the bookshop story
Mhm. Right.
in there. Margarita Mondays, I think it was.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
fun. Yeah. Yeah. So, Tara, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll lead us out. All right, we are Tender and Tempting Tales. It's been Illicit Liaisons, our podcast. You can find us on Substack. That's going to be Tender and Tempting Tales on Substack. We have articles every week about romance and bookish topics. You can also find us on Instagram. That's Tender Tempting Tales on Instagram. Don't forget to drop the and. You can also find us on Facebook. We have our Tender and Tempting Tales reader group. You can go on there and connect with other readers of our anthologies. And of course, you can find our anthologies on Kindle Unlimited, a Kindle, and we have beautiful paperbacks for you as well. And that's us. Thank you
Yep.
so
And you
much.
can visit Stephanie at srcaffrey.com. And again, all the links and all the books we mentioned, we will have links to as well, because I know you're going to want to go buy them all. Right? All right. Until next time, this is Jenna Hart wishing you peace, love, and happily ever after.